Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to LinkedIn Tuesday. It's April 8th, 2025. I'm very glad you're with us this afternoon. Please note this event is being recorded. The recording will be on the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. For those people, for everybody who's on Zoom, please feel free to use the chat window. Any questions you have for Ruth, please enter them there and I'll be sure to ask them for Ruth. Also, please put in your contact information. Give us your name, position you're looking for. If you've got some target companies, go ahead and list those. Put in your LinkedIn address. Connect with everybody else who's on the call today. This is a networking meeting. Is just as much as just primarily focused on LinkedIn. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org, a website to help those unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I launched careerusa.org to help those around the United States. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon, or if you see me in person, I always have copies with me. Since 2007, I've been leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. It meets every Friday morning, and we have an outstanding speaker coming up this Friday that I'll tell you about at the end of the session. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team, also known as the PIT Crew, a great way to practice your interviewing skills. For more information, just go to dallaspitcrew.com. Well, we have four outstanding speakers who rotate on a monthly basis to share their wit and wisdom and all the knowledge that they've gleaned over the last prior 30 days. Today, our speaker is Ruth Lipsky. She's a career coach. She works for Lee Heck Harrison. She works with job seekers on a daily basis. And today's topic is back to basics, making LinkedIn work for you. So Ruth, thank you for being with us, and it's all yours.
All right. Thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you for everything that you do for those who are looking for a role. It's an important part of being able to keep energy up, keep the best practices up. So let's talk about how you're going to create a better profile just by looking at the basics of LinkedIn. So the goals on LinkedIn are being able to add as many skills, as many value statements, as many experiences as possible, while being understanding of what the search engine is looking for and making sure that when a human eye reaches your profile, they'll be able to read it and understand it. And that's going to give you an authentic LinkedIn profile. There's no such thing as a perfect profile, so it's going to be changing as you find new skills, new actions, new ways of expressing yourself. But as long as you keep these things in mind, you'll be able to be found and you'll be able to be understood by the recruiters. So our agenda today, just a quick note on setting up a profile. We'll talk about that headline area that's right underneath your name. We'll talk about the hashtag open to work, the about section, the experience section, and the skills. So if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, there are plenty of ways to find it. A lot of sites have a link to www.linkedin.com. Join now. They'll give you plenty of opportunity. But once you get a profile, make sure that you go into your settings and privacy to update the email that is responsible for the account, to turn off notifications when you change something on your profile, and take a quick look at the other settings that you might have. So being able to look at those pieces of your profile are going to be an important reason that you're going to be more comfortable. So up in the Me icon, settings and privacy, on the left-hand side, you'll see that there's a table of contents. Sign-in security is going to give you what email address you're using. Visibility is going to allow you to say, don't want to spam everybody in my network every time I make an update. Make sure that that's turned off. You can check the other pieces here to make sure that you're comfortable with everything that is part of your profile, but in general, those are the two big ones. A new feature that LinkedIn has created recently is the verification. And the verification is a check mark with a shield right by your name. If you are communicating with other people on LinkedIn, if you are talking to people who you think are recruiters, they should have a check mark by their name. LinkedIn is trying to identify the files that are bots, that are scams, that are scoundrels, that are just not real people. And this is the way that they're doing it. While you're checking those, there are three different ways that you can create a verification. One is that you can use a government ID. And in order to do that, you have to use your phone. You can't do that on a laptop or an iPad. You need to be able to do it on the phone. It looks like you can do it on your laptop, but you can't. You get hung up about halfway through. Another type of verification is your workplace. Did you actually work at this company? That's one that sends a note to your company, assures them that you are, and the company assures LinkedIn that you're a real person. The other verification is education. So if you are currently a student, if you are currently working at a university or a school, you can do that. It's similar to a workplace, but not quite the same. LinkedIn is going to send a note to that education area and ensure that you are actually the person that you say you are. So do at least one of these because recruiters are prioritizing people who are verified to be real. The other thing to do on this page is that when LinkedIn created the URL for your page, it normally took your first name dash last name and then put a string of letters and numbers afterwards in order to separate your page from somebody else who has a similar one. Go into this public profile and URL, click the edit pencil, then use the little blue edit pencil in order to create a more professional look. While you're on this page, go down and make sure that your visibility is on and that every one of these features shows up in the green. If it's not showing green, that means that LinkedIn cannot use that as part of its algorithm, and recruiters will not be able to see the information that you have in that area. So make sure it's all in the green. So next thing we're going to be looking at, let's see, we looked at that. We looked at the sign-in and security. We looked at the visibility, changed our profile. We looked at the verification. If you're not verified yet, you've probably got this message on your LinkedIn profile. Verified members get 60% more profile views and 30% more messages. That's because the LinkedIn algorithm is prioritizing people that they feel have been identified and verified. Profile picture is also at the top of your profile page. It should only contain you, not your dog, not the fish you caught, not half of your arm around somebody else. Make sure it's just you. Looking at the camera is absolutely essential because that shows that the trust, that the visibility is going to be more positive. Smiling is a plus, not required. If you don't feel like you want to smile, if you want more of a strongly professional look, you don't need to show your teeth in a smile. Don't tilt your head. A tilted head is quite often a beauty pose for women, but in a organization, in a professional setting, tilting your head is more of a sign of submission. And so keep your head straight up and down if at all possible. The clothes that you wear need to be the clothes that you would wear to work. You don't need a suit and tie for everything. Wear what you think is going to be comfortable in the job that you're going to be going to next. There's a picture in the background. It's the large rectangular area at the very top of the profile page. You need to have a picture there. There will be a camera on the upper right-hand side, and you can upload a branded picture. A picture that when a recruiter or a hiring manager comes onto your profile, they can see, bam, who you are, what you do, something about the type of work that you do, maybe the industry that you're in. Don't use the LinkedIn suggested backgrounds because too many people are using them. It's not unique enough, and it really doesn't tell a recruiter anything special about you. Having a picture that is very much one that you picked out to showcase who you are and speaks to you is going to be important there. And if you need a suggestion, click on Google Images and type in LinkedIn background in the search, and that will give you thousands of free rectangular pictures. And it will also give you the ability to filter to the type of role that you're looking for. So background picture adds a bit more depth. It is not part of the LinkedIn algorithm, but it does deal with does a human eye like what they're seeing, and is it going to make them willing to read more about you? The headline area is the only area that LinkedIn shows a recruiter during a search. When a recruiter is doing a search for a title, for a skill, for a geographic area, LinkedIn gives them thousands of choices, but the only information that is presented to the recruiter is the headshot, the headline, the geographic location, and the last two job titles. So in your headline, it is the most important part of your profile. The LinkedIn algorithm uses these words to identify you more than any other part of the profile. It weights these words very heavily. It's a way of talking directly to the recruiter. What value do you bring? But there's a limit. You only get 220 characters to put in a title and your value. But you need to showcase it to show the titles that you're looking for the future. The headline is always about the future, what your brand is, maybe what your expertise is, what your value proposition is. All of that is going to be an important part of a recruiter picking you out of a search. Do not use special characters, do not use emojis. The human eye is going to find this appealing and is going to like it, but it confuses the LinkedIn algorithm, and it means that you're not coming up as high in the searches because LinkedIn gets confused by it. LinkedIn, rather famously, does not support special characterization or formatting any place on the profile. If you want to have bullet points, if you want to have additional information, you'll have to create it in a separate document and copy and paste those bullet points in. But the more emojis and special characters you use in the profile, the more that it creates conflicts within the algorithm. It's not set up to read those. So the template you're going to headline, since it's that important, it could be a title or two and then the skills that you use to show expertise in your job. Or you can have a title or two and then put in a statement accomplishing X through Y. Possibly titles using X to increase or decrease Y. You're trying to show what you did that makes you more interesting to a recruiter than anybody else with the same titles. Types of things that could be worthwhile. If you're somebody like a full stack application developer, you want to have the software, the programming languages that you use, because that's probably what the recruiter is looking for. Give it to them right up front in your headline. If you are in a role such as business analytics or business analyst, put in what type of work you do and cost-cutting strategist. Gives them a feel for what additional responsibilities you can take on. Data scientist, more information about what they do. Customer experience manager. You can also put in numbers into the headline if you feel that this is one of the compelling arguments to get into your next role. The higher you are in an organization, the more fluid the headline needs to be. Someone who is at the high level of an organization is not going to use the identification of skills. They're not going to put in leadership, communication. They're going to put in what they do in a broad strategic statement that is going to invite a recruiter or a hiring manager to look more closely at what they do, but it doesn't necessarily say how they do it. You're going to have to scroll down into the About section before you can find out how they get these things done. But the higher level you are at an organization, the more you're going to have to put in what your overall responsibility and successes are, not something that is quite specific or narrowed down to a skill or two. Okay on all this so far? Jeff, you're going to stop in anytime there's going to be a question. Okay, you got it. Location. LinkedIn does allow you to put in your location, and it gives you choices. It will either give you the exact city of your postal code, or it will give you a metroplex. The way that LinkedIn uses location is that it will look first for metropolitan areas. That comes up higher in a search than a single city does. And a single city will come up higher than United States would. So if you've got United States as your location to indicate that you are willing to relocate or that you're willing to take remote jobs, you're forcing yourself down the list because LinkedIn is not satisfied with that as an answer. So metropolitan areas always come up higher than cities, than countries. Industry. LinkedIn has 149 industries right now, and you can sort your job search by industry. It is changing to the NAICS standard, which has 1,173 industries. It has not completed that change yet. So at this time, if you're looking to change your industry in your LinkedIn profile, you can't do it. But once the rollout is complete, you'll be able to do that if you feel it's necessary. This is only important if you're looking for an absolute change in what you're doing, not simply moving transferable skills from one industry to another. That open to work banner, have you found it? It allows you to put in up to 5 different jobs, and you have to use the job that LinkedIn has set up as a possibility. Hang on, lost the slide there. Okay, open to work is going to be at the bottom of your introduction area. When you're in the open to work, it will give you 5 title possibilities. You cannot freeform this. It's got to be one of the 6,000 LinkedIn standardized titles. Putting in what location type, where you want to be working. Location, normally we use United States to show that you're open to anybody in the United States, any company that has a footprint in the United States. If you wanted to expand that to other countries, you can certainly do that. But at the bottom, it says, do you want recruiters to see this who are using the LinkedIn recruiter software? Or do you want to put the hashtag open to work around your headshot so that everybody on LinkedIn can see you? A lot of discussion as to what this means about you when you have it. But the statistics that we have show that only 50% of the recruiters that are using LinkedIn for a silent search have access to the LinkedIn recruiter software. So if you're only showing it to recruiters only, you're visible to half the recruiters who are actually using this as a feature. And you may want to be looking at a little bit broader. So here's what it's going to look like. Some people feel that it's a negative, that it is a perception of desperation, and that there could be some reputation damage because some people, some recruiters still feel that if you were let go from a company, there had to be a good reason and that you were a poor performer. That's not true anymore, has not been true for over 15 years when mergers and acquisitions started, major activity, and whole swaths of departments got let go because they were redundant, not because of performance. So this has not been uh, a true perception for quite a number of years, but that doesn't mean that people don't have it. For people who are saying that they want a hashtag open to work, there are positives because it does increase the visibility of your profile. 40% more recruiter outreach, 20% more messages. So having the hashtag open to work, it is the number one filter that recruiters use on the LinkedIn platform. It does give you a lot more interest by the recruiters who are able to find you. It also gives more networking opportunities where people are able to see your banner more closely and are able to connect with you. There will always be some people who look at the hashtag open to work as a negative. That's just the way human nature is. The algorithm is favoring people who have that on, but if for any reason you feel that this is not a good position for you, that maybe you're at a higher level position and you only want to be open to silent searches, that you feel that there might be some reputation, don't have it visible. But for the most part, the recommendation is the hashtag open to work has some huge benefits for you. Analytics. Keep track of the analytics because that is really how effective you are in your LinkedIn profile. So you can take a look at a lot of other features on LinkedIn to determine if you are doing a good job. But this is really what tells you if you're doing an effective job. If people are looking at your profile, if you are coming up in search appearances, if you're not posting, this isn't going to be as important, but you should be posting because posting is rewarded by LinkedIn and is going to increase where you are on the search appearances. There's no absolute number for what this should be. Your goal, though, is to look at what it is that it is right now and find ways to make it trend upwards so that more people are coming to your appearance, to your profile, that are looking at your profile in detail. And the way that you're going to do that is you're going to be more active on LinkedIn, that you're going to add more information to your LinkedIn profile. LinkedIn is rewarding people who are using LinkedIn by bringing them up higher on the search appearances. So this is how you're going to track how well you're doing. In your About section, man, that is just a huge section, isn't it? You're going to talk about your successes. You're going to talk about your experiences. You're going to use a lot of keywords. The first 4 lines of your About section are the only ones visible to somebody who comes onto your profile and has not yet clicked the See More button. So the first 4 lines should grab attention and be a compelling reason for people to be able to see you. Within the About section, your paragraph should be no longer than 4 lines deep. If you have a paragraph that is 5 lines deep or more, it becomes a wall of words. It's harder to read, and people tend to skip over the long paragraphs and go to the short ones. If you need to have each one of your sentences as a separate paragraph with white in between each one of them, it is much more readable. So pay attention to how the human eye is going to be reading this section, as well as how the LinkedIn algorithm is going to be utilizing this in their searches. So, template for the About section. Begin with a hook, and quite often it's going to be, here's a title with X number of years of experience. If it's more than 20 years, it's going to be with extensive experience in this field. I help companies do, boom, something of value. Discuss your current role, your key skills that are associated with that role and the roles that you want for the future. You're going to talk about your achievements using numbers as much as possible, but let's not forget that non-quantifiable results are powerful too. If every one of your statements in your About section has numbers on it, that's fine. But the LinkedIn algorithm is changing now so that it is picking up a culture fit as well as the professional side of who you are and what you can do. So adding in the words that are more capable of explaining who you are, how you deal with people is going to be important because LinkedIn is changing their algorithm as we speak. Highlight the value you bring. What did you do that was important? And value is both what did you do technically and what did you do as a manager? So coaching, mentoring, developing, delegation are all going to be important there. And putting in a small sentence at the end of the About section that talks about your personality, your interests. Uh, do you enjoy hiking? Uh, have you read every book in this series that might have a genre associated with it? But talk about something that is not going to be needed for them to make a decision on hiring you, but is something that is going to give them a better standing of who you are as a person, because that's becoming more and more important to companies to bring people in who are going to fit into their company. So let's talk about those non-quantifiable accomplishments. These are things that might not necessarily have numbers associated with them, but everybody does some work that is important, that's needed, but doesn't have a number that could be associated with it. Delivering training, contributed to negotiations, effectively identifying something, uh, coaching and mentoring. So, non quantifiable accomplishments are going to be more and more important in your LinkedIn profile as companies are looking for a balance on who they're going to be bringing in. Now, there are a couple different ways of looking at the About section, and one of them is if you're looking for the same job. Here's an example of what your About section might look like. Just because LinkedIn allows you to have 2,600 characters doesn't mean that you need to use them all. So if you're looking for a similar job in a similar industry, it might be this straightforward. I have this many years of experience. I've done this type of work. I have these skills. I love what I do. Straightforward. If you're looking for the same job, you could also expand it out and say, here are 3 things that made me particularly good at this job. You need to know about this, hiring manager, so that you can see that I can prove that I can do these things for you. So this is a little bit more complicated, but it does show expertise in a high level skills that are needed to support that you're the better candidate. Okay, third example. This is for an executive. An executive About section is going to be much more high level, going to be using more strategic words. Having key strengths need to be more than just leadership and communication. It needs to be complex projects, strategic programs, but it's going to be things that are going to be broad statements on what you can do. 3 to 5 in this area. If you have less than 3, it's not as strong a story. If you have more than 5, you've just watered down the accomplishments and they're not as important. The next thing that executives can put in is impactful experience. Once again, 3 to 5 stories about things that you did high level that impacted the organization in a positive way. In this case, we wrote out 4 stories and then put in what the topic was for each one of those. So it was a little bit easier to identify quickly what the story was about. Notice that on executive jobs, quite often you're not going to see numbers. And that's because a lot of executives are going to be under non disclosure agreements. that prevent them from saying anything that could harm the reputation of a company based on the successes that they had. So, although we normally say put as many numbers in as possible, be careful about what you put in. You don't want to run afoul of your company and cause any damage because that's going to reflect back on your ability to sort out prioritization and needs. Now, not everybody's looking for the same job. Some people are looking for any one of multiple jobs. So here's a way of looking for more than one job. Overall statement at the top of who you are, what you've done, but then putting in, here are 3 different jobs that I could be considered for because of these types of activities. Most people have a job title that is given to them by the company that does not necessarily reflect the actual actions that they took. And being able to say, I'm looking for this job title might be too narrow a definition for them. So putting into this section of the About on LinkedIn that you are capable of doing more than one job and having the statements that say why can be an easy way for recruiters to be able to find you and see that you've got the broad background that might be much more interesting to them. This is probably going to be using the most space on LinkedIn. You never need to use all 2,600 characters. That's not the goal here, but being able to indicate multiple activities, multiple jobs generally uses more space. Now, sometimes people want to change careers altogether. If you don't want to go back to the role that you had before, you can put in a statement of, this is who I am and I was good at my job. You want to make a statement that kind of says, I'm changing careers not because I was bad at my last career, but because of this other. So now whoops, there you go. Now I'm excited to look for a different type. So bringing up why you're interested in moving into a new career and the skills that you bring with you are going to make this an easier move for you. Generally, you do have to answer the question, why are you moving to a new role? What made you select this role as something that is different from what you've done before? As you have worked in an organization, as you have moved through life, you have picked up a lot of different skills that allow you to transfer those skills into success in another area. Another way of saying it, uh, I've enjoyed my career, but now I'm going to pivot my career, and here's why I'm doing it. So, information on first paragraph. Here's what I was. You can see that by my experience section, but here's what I'm pivoting to, and this is why I'm pivoting, and here's why I think this is a reasonable thing to be able to do. Any questions on any of those about sections?
Nothing in the chat window.
Okay. Let's talk about the experience section that you have. And let's talk about the end date because that comes up quite often. It shows you're no longer employed by the company. Quite often, we want you to showcase that at the 2 to 3 month mark so that it gives you more honesty and it's easier to talk about that in interviews. But you need to have an explanation of why you are no longer employed. LinkedIn gives you the opportunity to put in a career break. And in the career break, it gives you the opportunity to say, maybe I was full-time parenting, maybe I had health, maybe I was relocating, but I could also be laid off. So putting this in as a career break is an option that LinkedIn is giving us, but LinkedIn still looks at you as being unemployed. And being unemployed in LinkedIn does not give you the biggest boost in your profile. LinkedIn wants you to be employed. And in order to say that you are employed, you can add a job in the experience section that gives what your title would be for your next job, that you are self-employed, that you are looking for a new opportunity. Don't use hashtags through here because that makes you invisible to LinkedIn in the experience section. But being able to put into the description area what it is you're doing, this is another way of stating the skills that you have. And the more times you say you have a skill in LinkedIn, the higher level of competency LinkedIn assumes that you have. So more and more of these skills, why you should hire me type statements. So let's take a look real quickly at what that looks like when you're in this area or when you're in your experience section. You can add a job and you can either add a new position or you can add that career break. The career break is going to give you all of the options on what caused you to not be employed as of this date. But adding in a new position allows you to put in the titles that you're looking for. Company or organization is a required field, which is why you have to use one of the statements out there, self-employed, looking for new opportunities. But in this section, you've got 2,000 characters in this description area. Gives you plenty of room to be able to say what it is you're looking for in your next role, why you feel that that is a good role for you. And by adding an experience, it shows that you are still employed. Kind of fools LinkedIn that way, but that's about the way that LinkedIn is setting things up. So you can add more titles to your experience section. The actual title that your company gave you might not showcase what your actual responsibilities were. The company gives you a title so that it's got a job description for it, and it may be that the types of activities that you did don't necessarily reflect. So you can translate your company's title and give the recruiters a different view of what it is that you actually did by adding a similar title in your experience section. So here at Lee Hecht Harrison, my official title is career consultant, but in the real world, career coach is used more often. So I put a pipe in between those two because an exact match on title is a key part of being able to be found on LinkedIn. So I'm putting both in, and it just is I'm translating this for you. But in my previous role, although my title was Senior Manager of Training and Development, what I actually did with my staff of 12 was move classroom training into an e-learning environment, a virtual environment. And during that time, I became an expert in instructional design and e-learning development, and I could accept jobs in those two categories because of the experience I had in this role. You would never know it unless you got down into the see more area down here. So I'm telling recruiters right up front, and I'm telling the LinkedIn algorithm right up front. These are titles that reflect what my capabilities were and what my experience is. When you're translating to something similar, a pipe is normally used. If you're translating it to, although I had this title, these are titles that more appropriately represent the type of work I was given, you normally put those in parentheses. Education. Um, Education is not just where you went to college or where you went to high school. It would be additional education actions that you want to highlight to show that you are a continuous learner. So between the education and the courses area, make sure that you add as much in there as you can because this is the indication that you are a person who is capable of learning more. And in the area, I take 8 classes each year through my company that are in these topics. You probably had similar topics. Probably the compliance team sent you classes to take and you had to pass the class. Put those out there on LinkedIn. It's a way of accepting that this is the norm in industry. There's a lot of rules and regulations around all of us. I took these classes. I'm going to take them again in my next job too. So adding more courses by going into the section up at the top, uh, add a profile section. In this recommended area, adding a course, adding a project, adding licenses or certifications that you've received are all going to be an important part of expanding from the base content of LinkedIn to adding additional information that you would not have on a resume, but you think are an important consideration for your next role. So expand education and courses. Skills. Did you notice that LinkedIn has identified 33,600 skills? There are a lot of them out there. And in the skills section, it allows you to put up to 100 skills that you need for your next job. Take away the ones that you used in the first job you ever had, and you hope you never have to use that skill again. If you are a manager, you need to have both technical skills and managerial skills. The ones that we talked about, the communication, the delegation, the coaching and mentoring. LinkedIn is looking at these now for culture fit. They are looking not just for do you fit the key skills in a job description, they're looking for do you fit the type of person that is normally in this role. LinkedIn searches will only recognize a skill that has an endorsement. So if you put 100 skills in your skill section, but you don't have an endorsement, at least one endorsement for a skill, then LinkedIn can't find it. The human eye will find it, but LinkedIn won't. So if you need to go out and send a note to the people in your network, only a first degree connection can give you an endorsement. Send a note out saying, I'm improving my LinkedIn profile. I'd like endorsements for these 10 skills. Would you please take the time to do that? I'd be happy to endorse any skills you would like me to. Just let me know which ones you feel are important. And the more endorsements you have on a skill, once again, the higher level of expertise LinkedIn assumes that you have. This can go both ways. LinkedIn still says that the more endorsements that you have, probably the better you are at that job. But the human eye has recognized that sometimes this means that you just have a better social network than other people, and they have come and endorsed your skills, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you have those. A little bit of a disconnect between how LinkedIn treats it and what a lot of recruiters treat this. But more skills is generally better. You got to get past the algorithm. You got to get past the robots. You got to get past the artificial intelligence before you get to that recruiter. The skill order can be changed. I hope you know that when you go on to the skill section, there's going to be 3 dots up here, and you will be able to reorder them. And when you reorder them, on the right-hand side, you've got parallel lines that you can move up and down so that the top 2 skills on your all skills list are going to be the 2 that show on your home page of your profile. Those are going to be your best ones. But since when you open this up, a person can normally see 10 to 12 before they have to scroll down, make sure the first 10 to 12 on your list are the real important ones, both technical and managerial. Becoming an all-star. LinkedIn knows that there's no such thing as a perfect profile, but it does know that there is such a thing as a complete profile. And they are going to reward you by increasing your visibility. They want you to have a profile picture. They want a location. And once again, metropolitan areas are the best to have there. They want you to have an industry. LinkedIn assigns that to you. You can't change it right now, but it is assigned based on the company that you were most recently at. They want you to have an about section that contains at least 40 words. It wants you to have a current position. So you have to have a position there that indicates that you are employed rather than having that career break. And you need to have an education, and you need to have at least 5 skills. If you have all of these, you are an all-star, and that does give you a boost. Now, how much of a boost, LinkedIn won't tell us, but if they're giving us any kind of a boost at all, you should try and have all of these as features of your profile. So, things that we talked about for the LinkedIn algorithm: don't use special characters or emojis anywhere on your profile, distorts the search. The more times you say you have a skill, the higher level of proficiency. So put those words all through it. Words in the headline have the highest value in the algorithm. Locations within metropolitan areas come up higher. Only skills with an endorsement can be seen by LinkedIn. And you're open to work because less effective over time. LinkedIn does age everything on your LinkedIn profile. And after 2 months, if you have not updated anything in your LinkedIn profile, your visibility to LinkedIn has gone down considerably. So every 2 months, you need to turn off the hashtag open to work and turn it back on again. And that's going to reset it and is going to make it, once again, a feature that LinkedIn is going to be looking at closely. And if you're not finding recruiters coming to your profile, you need to, at the 2-month mark, get your open to work off and on, change your headline in some way, and change the first paragraph, the about section. So every 2 months, do those 3 things in order to keep you as fresh as possible on LinkedIn. And if recruiters aren't finding you, changing those 2 areas is generally going to give you a better boost. Now, the human eye is also going to be important. So having that background picture that says something to a recruiter is going to be good. Have that friendly headshot. Get an interesting and value-heavy headline. That first paragraph of the about section needs to be powerful and invite somebody to see more about you. Making your paragraph short. The order is normally technical skills come first in an about section, followed by managerial skills. The top 2 skills, yeah, absolutely. The ones that are on your profile page home are going to be your superpowers. And you're going to have skills listed in the order of experience so recruiters are able to find them easily. And there's some statistics that might be useful to consider. Questions or things we need to be looking at a little bit more closely now.
Janelle, go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you. Can you go back to the previous slide? This one, thank you. I just wanted to revisit it and have a chance to read it all. That's why.
I tend to go kind of fast. So yeah, no problem.
Randall, I see your hand up.
Yeah, so my question is about the experience section where we're listing the previous jobs. What, I guess I need a reminder in terms of what we should have on there and what we should not have on there.
Okay, let's go back and take a look at that. So you're talking about the experience section through here, right?
Correct.
The
Yeah.
experience section here normally is the same as what you have on your resume. Unless you have something on your resume that could be considered more privileged information that you only want to share with the recruiters at a particular company, then you would want to take that out. but having the job title that was given to you first, and then any additional titles that you think are going to be important to indicate what your true role was, and then being able to put in the bullet points that you would have in your resume, because there's plenty of room
Okay.
for it. Going back depends on how far you want to go. Normally on a resume, we say going back 12 to 15 years is appropriate. On resume on LinkedIn, going back up to 20 years is not uncommon. If you feel that there are jobs earlier than that in your career that give you a boost as to the credibility of what you're looking for now, you can go back as far as you want. But quite often we want to take off those early jobs that don't necessarily indicate what we're capable of doing today.
But
Okay.
on the other hand, those earlier jobs, you may have worked with somebody that could be your future boss. So by putting in a prior job and then connecting with people who also work there at the same time, you never know what kind of lead you may pop up.
Okay.
Good point, Jeff.
Yeah, I'd heard previously people had said something like, LinkedIn, what you have in LinkedIn should not be the same as what's in your resume. And I'm hearing a different answer from you, I think. So, um,
Randall, this is Polly. I heard the same thing as you, is that it should not be the same thing as what's on your resume. It should be a higher level description, and then the resume should be customized much more specifically to the position itself.
Well, definitely as you're applying for a job, you're going to adjust your
Sure.
resume. But your master resume, my feeling is that the LinkedIn profile rewards you for having more words in your profile than less words. So I'm of the opinion that since LinkedIn started life as your online resume, that you need to have more information on LinkedIn than you have on your resume.
Interesting. That's the first time I've heard that, so I appreciate that perspective, Ruth. Thank you.
It's only because the
Yes.
algorithm rewards you that way.
okay.
I see your hand up. Carol, do you have a question?
Oh, sorry. Yes, I didn't hear first name. I'm curious about the location. The headline is very forward focused. If you are open to going or think you want to go to another region of the country, should you put that there, or is that your current location?
You need to put it in the About section. So
Okay.
at the end of your About section, you're going to have, feel free to contact me here, but you're also going to put in just prior to this, open to relocation, willing to work remote, willing to work on site, willing to travel, anything that is needed to talk about what you're capable of doing. It's not necessarily going to show up on the very top portion of your profile up here,
Right.
unless you wanted, but having a metropolitan area tends to be big. And let's take a look at that one other thing that came up. In your introduction area, your industry still can't be changed. So your industry is going to be set up based on what company you've worked for. And if you wanted to change to a different industry at some point, you'd be able to change this. But if you're looking for transferable skills across a lot of different industries, keep it where it is right now.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
You bet.
Martha, I see your hand up.
Yes, I have a question. I keep on seeing a lot of people posting, and a lot of them are entrepreneurs. How should we showcase ourselves if we're not entrepreneurs and working for a company right now, or not working for a company? What posts should we be posting so the algorithm can go up? Because I do notice my algorithm does go up when I'm liking, when I'm supporting different posts. And as recently, I did have a recruiter reach out to me from the LinkedIn world And I think it was because I was been very, very active. So again, my question is just what kind of posts should we be putting out into the LinkedIn area?
All right, excellent. There's two things to remember when you're posting. You're going to be looking for something that is professional in tone, and you're going to be authentic, which means that it's not going to be simply technical. It's something about how you react to this. So if you find something on your homepage that might be of interest to you, you can comment on it. Don't use this like button. There are a lot of folks on LinkedIn that are concerned that this has become Facebook by having likes and stuff. A like does not give you any points added to the score of your LinkedIn profile, but a comment can. And when you comment, it's going to give you some options for this. Yeah, skip those. If you have a comment, it needs to be 12 words or more in order to get maximum value out of posting.
That's exactly what I listened. Yes, that's what I had heard. And thank you for bringing that up.
And as you get more comments on people's what else is being posted, sometimes it brings something to your forefront that says, I could post something on that too, in which case you can go up and start your own post. But you can also get a huge lift by commenting on other people's, particularly if it starts a dialogue or if you repost somebody's. So let's say you wanted to repost this and add your own comments to it. So you own the information that is in here. You'll get comments from yours and be able to work on that too.
You know, you want to know, your question was a little bit about what kinds of topics should I talk about? Well, whatever you do, there's got to be a feed, and you can go to a website called feedly.com, feedly.com, and they have all sorts of posts from many people that you can find something you like, post that, and then add your words to it, what you think about the article, what you thought about it.
Thank you.
All right, Michael, question.
More of a comment. I commented on a comment to a post, or to a response to a comment to a post, and it turned into a big conversation and a couple more connections and a shared friendship all in the last couple of
Perfect
weeks.
story. Yes, well done. And that's a good example of how posting is going to connect you with other people who you might not have in your network and might not even be a second degree connection to you. But posting, LinkedIn is going to push your post out to people who it thinks are in the same industry, might have similar titles, might have nothing to do with you at all. But people who have expressed interest or have commented on similar posts, nice way to connect. Good questions.
Hi, I have a question.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know where my hand up is on my hand up button. Anyway, you mentioned I've been in a couple of industries in my career, and I feel like I don't have a brand. I want to specialize in one brand. Um, I'm in transition right now, layoff, and what I have on my current activities is just professional development. You mentioned put in something that you're working, something you're active, like consulting or something. But that is not what I'm actually doing. So um, if we show that, if we get a call from a recruiter or a company, they'll ask about that. So what is your best recommendation to put that?
I like putting in as a new experience, adding a position. If you are consulting, if you are an entrepreneur, anything that you're doing, Because one of the questions that comes up in an interview sometimes is, what are you doing now that you're not working? And being able to say, entrepreneur, I'm a go-getter, I am an active person, I can't stay still. Having a job that is a self-starter job is a real plus for
What
people
about a
who are
side
looking for.
gig? What do you think about a side gig? Like, I don't know, just any side gig. Is that
That's okay too. If you don't feel that it's really professional enough to be part of experience, then add it into your about section. I am currently volunteering at the rec center coaching 7-year-old boys soccer. Say a prayer. So you can put that either way, either as here's what I'm doing in order to remain active and engaged, or you can put it in as a new job.
okay? And but how do you brand that as an entrepreneur?
Well,
Yes.
I think the branding part comes from what kind of discussions are you going to start on LinkedIn? Are there things that you can share with your connections on LinkedIn that'll tell people who you are or what you do and how you do it? You know, you have the opportunity there to share your expertise, and I think that's how you brand yourself.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Anything else, Ruth, or is that it?
I think that's it for me.
All right. Well, Ruth, thank you very much. If you want to connect with Ruth, here's well, this is actually one of her old pictures on LinkedIn. She changes it all the time, so I never know which one's the current one. But if you want to connect with Ruth, you can do so there. Ruth, thank you very, very much for your information.
My pleasure.
Our speaker is going to be Kurt Vondermatter. He's a retained search executive at Linked Executive Search. He is a professional recruiter. He is paid to go find you. And how does he find you? Well, he's going to talk about that next week. So come join us next Tuesday at 1 o'clock. Career DFW and Career USA, we're putting on training every week. Every Tuesday, LinkedIn. Every Wednesday, the practice interview team will be meeting. They will be meeting in person tomorrow. So if you live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you can join them at Christ United Methodist Church at the corner of Parker and Coit. They are in person on the first, second, third, and fifth Wednesdays. On the fourth Wednesday of the month, they are online. So anybody outside the DFW area can join us there. And getting a practice interview is extremely important. You don't want your real interview to be a practice interview. You want to make them count, and the PIC crew will make that happen. This Friday at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group at 9:30 in the morning, accountability groups, how to start them, what you should be doing in an accountability group, who should be consisting of it, who shouldn't be part of the group, how you run one. Clayton Stockdale has been, he's a leader of the Fort Worth Career Search Network on Monday mornings. He will be presenting the group. This is a great presentation. So, you know, you need to have a group of your peers who you can sit down with weekly and talk about what you did, what did you accomplish. So that's what we're going to talk about this Friday at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. You're welcome to join the Career DFW or Career USA LinkedIn groups. You do not need to live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area to join the Career DFW group. Today, we just passed 700 members. So the group is growing. Please come join either group. Janelle just asked, confirming that the Friday meeting will be online as well. It will be online. So if you're not close by, you can join us online. This session has been recorded. It will be on the Career USA YouTube channel later this afternoon. Please subscribe to the channel. That way, every time we post a new video, you'll find out about it and you go back and watch it at your convenience. on the Career USA YouTube channel. It looks something like this. On that green arrow, click where it says playlist, and then up will come a list of the different subjects that I've formatted to put videos in. And if you click on LinkedIn, don't click on video, but down below it says view full playlist. Click there, and up will come a list of all the different topics and titles who's been talking about LinkedIn. So you can go back and watch any of those. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops and you'd like to join the Career USA mailing list, just scan this QR code. It'll send a blank email, or just send me a blank email to Career USA, the + subscribe at groups.io. And we will make sure that you get on the mailing list, and you will be able to find out about the events we're putting on every week with links. Please remember, Career DFW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We have no full part-time employees. All of our speakers are volunteers. I'm a volunteer. Everything I've done since 2008 has just been help you land your next great opportunity. So thank you very much for joining us today. Ruth, once again, thank you very much. And we will see you, everybody, hopefully tomorrow or Friday.
Thanks, Ruth and Jeff. Have a good week.
Jeff, quick check. Are you able to hear me?